Ryan Michaels's alarm rang every morning at 5:30, long before the sun appeared over the quiet neighborhood. While most of the city was still asleep, he was already in the small kitchen packing a lunchbox for his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. She loved peanut butter sandwiches cut into stars. And no matter how difficult life became, Ryan never forgot the tiny details that made her smile. Only a year earlier, his mornings had looked completely different. He had worn crisp shirts, driven to a modern office, and managed a team at one of the city's fastest-growing technology companies. 12 years of dedication had earned him respect, promotions, and the belief that loyalty always mattered. Then one 15-minute meeting changed everything. The company announced a massive restructuring. Employees were called into private offices one by one. When Ryan's turn came, the young CEO briefly thanked him for his service before sliding a termination letter across the table. "It's nothing personal," the CEO said without meeting his eyes. "We're moving in a different direction." Those words echoed in Ryan's mind for weeks. He searched tirelessly for another management position, attending interviews, updating his resume, and sending countless applications. Some employers said he was overqualified. Others never responded at all. As savings disappeared and rent became harder to pay, he accepted work delivering groceries across the city. The job paid far less than his old salary, but it allowed him to keep Emma safe and fed. Every evening, she greeted him at the door with the same question. "Did you have a good day, Dad?" Ryan always smiled before answering. "I did, because I get to come home to you." He never wanted his daughter to carry the weight of adult worries. After dropping Emma at school each morning, Ryan often noticed his elderly neighbor, Mr. Frank Doyle, struggling to bring groceries inside or sweep the leaves from his porch. His hands shook from arthritis. Yet, he insisted on living independently after losing his wife several years earlier. One afternoon, without being asked, Ryan quietly carried his heavy shopping bags to the kitchen. Mr. Doyle thanked him with homemade cookies and a warm smile that reminded him of his late grandfather. From that simple act, an unexpected friendship began, one that would soon change both of their lives in ways neither of them could possibly imagine. The weeks passed quietly, and helping Mr. Doyle became part of Ryan's everyday routine. Some evenings he replaced burnt-out light bulbs, while on others he fixed a leaking faucet or trimmed the flowers in his small front garden. None of the tasks were difficult, but they made a huge difference to the elderly man who no longer had the strength to do them himself. Mr. Doyle often invited him inside for tea after the work was finished. Their conversations rarely focused on hardship. Instead, they laughed about old neighborhood stories, shared memories of their families, and discussed Emma's dreams of becoming a veterinarian someday. "You've raised a wonderful little girl," Mr. Doyle said one evening. Ryan smiled proudly. "She's the reason I keep moving forward." Although life remained difficult, those simple visits reminded him that kindness could exist even during hard times. One afternoon, Ryan noticed Mr. Doyle standing by his mailbox with a worried expression. He was holding several envelopes, but one in particular had clearly upset him. "Bad news?" he asked softly. Mr. Doyle hesitated before answering. "My daughter is finally coming to visit after almost a year. I want everything to be perfect, but my house has started falling apart. The porch railing is loose. The guest room needs cleaning, and I can't manage it by myself anymore." Ryan didn't think twice. "We'll have it ready before she arrives." The following day was his only afternoon off, yet he spent every hour at Mr. Doyle's home. He repaired the railing, cleaned dusty windows, tightened loose cabinet handles, mowed the lawn, and even rearranged old family photographs that had gathered dust on a shelf. When he noticed fresh flowers blooming beside the fence, he carefully picked a small bouquet and placed it in a glass vase on the dining table. The house felt alive again. Mr. Doyle looked around with tears shining in his eyes. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you." Ryan shook his head gently. "You already have. You treated me like family when I felt the whole world had forgotten me." He smiled, but there was something thoughtful behind his expression. "My daughter has no idea who you are," he said quietly. "But when she walks through that front door tomorrow, I have a feeling both of you will remember each other immediately." Ryan laughed, assuming he was joking. He couldn't imagine why a complete stranger would recognize him. Yet deep inside, an uneasy feeling settled in his chest, as if the past he had worked so hard to leave behind was about to knock on the door. The next afternoon, Ryan arrived a few minutes early with a fresh loaf of bread from the neighborhood bakery. Mr. Doyle had already prepared lunch, and the house looked brighter than it had in years. Sunlight poured through the clean windows, filling every room with warmth. "You've done more for this home than you realize," he said as he adjusted a framed family photograph on the mantel. Ryan smiled. "I'm just glad you're happy." A car pulled into the driveway. Mr. Doyle looked out the window and took a slow breath. "She's here." Ryan picked up his jacket. "I'll get going. You two have a lot to catch up on. Before he could reach the door, the front door swung open. A well-dressed woman stepped inside, holding her phone in one hand and a travel bag in the other. She stopped the moment she saw Ryan. The color drained from her face. Ryan froze as well. He recognized her instantly. Victoria Sloan, the CEO who had signed the papers, ending his 12-year career. For several seconds, no one spoke. Mr. Doyle looked from his daughter to Ryan with a puzzled smile. You two know each other? Victoria slowly lowered her phone. Yes, Ryan answered just as quietly. We used to work at the same company. Mr. Doyle's smile faded as he sensed the tension filling the room. Victoria looked around the spotless living room, noticing the repaired shelves, the polished furniture, the fresh flowers on the table, and the new porch light visible through the open doorway. Who did all this? She asked. Mr. Doyle pointed toward Ryan without hesitation. He did every bit of it. He helps me almost every day, and he never accepts a single dollar. Victoria stared at Ryan in disbelief. You've been doing all this after everything? Ryan remained calm. Your father needed help. That was enough for me. There was no anger in his voice, only quiet honesty. Victoria remembered the day she had dismissed him. At the time, she had convinced herself the layoffs were numbers on a spreadsheet. Standing in front of him now, she realized those numbers had faces, families, and lives. You have a daughter, don't you? She asked softly. Ryan nodded. Emma. She's the reason I kept going. Mr. Doyle looked at his daughter, confused. Victoria, what exactly happened between the two of you? Victoria couldn't answer immediately. For the first time since becoming CEO, she felt the full weight of a decision she had once called just business. Looking at the man who had continued choosing kindness despite losing everything, she understood that success meant very little if it came at the cost of forgetting people's humanity. Silence lingered in the room until Victoria finally took a slow breath. She looked at her father, then back at Ryan, unable to hide the regret in her eyes. I owe you both an apology, she said quietly. When I became CEO, I was obsessed with cutting costs and proving I could lead the company. I convinced myself that difficult decisions were easier if I didn't think about the people behind them. Ryan listened without interrupting. I never imagined what happened after you left, Victoria continued. I didn't know you were raising Emma alone. I didn't know how much you had sacrificed. Ryan gave a small nod. You couldn't have known, but every decision affects someone's life. That's easy to forget when you're sitting in an office. Mr. Doyle reached for his daughter's hand. Success isn't measured by how many people work for you, he said softly. It's measured by how many people trust you. Victoria lowered her head. Those words hurt because they were true. A week later, Ryan received an unexpected phone call. Victoria asked if he would be willing to visit the company, not for another interview, but for a conversation. Curious, he agreed. When he arrived, the atmosphere felt completely different from the day he had carried a cardboard box out of the building. Victoria welcomed him personally and explained that the company had changed its direction. She wanted experienced leaders who understood not only business, but also compassion. We'd like you to return as Director of Operations, she said. The position comes with better pay, flexible hours, and full benefits, but if you decline, I'll understand. Ryan remained silent for a moment before answering. I'll accept on one condition. Victoria looked surprised. Create a program that helps employees facing family emergencies instead of treating them like numbers. No one should feel invisible. Victoria smiled for the first time that day. Done. Months later, Ryan was once again leading a team, but this time in a workplace where kindness was valued alongside performance. Mr. Doyle often watched from his porch as Ryan and Emma left for work and school with smiles on their faces. Life had not rewarded Ryan because he expected something in return. It rewarded him because he chose compassion even when life had given him every reason to become bitter. In the end, the greatest act of leadership wasn't found in a corner office. It was found in the quiet decision to help someone who could never repay the favor. If this story moved you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and drop a comment below telling us what part touched you the most. We'd love to hear from you.